So, when you think of toxic stress, another way to consider it is trauma. And trauma is a Greek word for wound. It's an emotional response to a difficult event like an accident or a crime or a natural disaster. Gabor Mate talks about how trauma is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you as a result of what happens to you. Bessel van der Kolk, a psychiatrist, says that trauma is not the story of something that happened back then, but the current imprint of that pain, horror, or fear living inside of you. And I feel like we are living in a time where almost none of us hasn't been exposed to trauma or to some form of toxic stress. It's ubiquitous. And one of the things we'll talk about today is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a condition that includes flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, hypervigilance, uncontrollable thoughts about an event that you experienced, changes in accurately evaluating threat stimuli. So your ability to process your senses becomes impaired. And you may not relate to having post traumatic stress disorder, but what I see in my practice is people who have partial PTSD. They have what's called subthreshold PTSD. So maybe they've got the nightmares or the hypervigilance, but they don't have the whole spectrum of the disease. And so I want you to ask that of yourself. Do you have partial PTSD from something that you've experienced?